Stop touching! Stop touching, bro! What is your problem? Why are you touching me? Why are you touching me? Why are you touching me? For what? Who are you?
All right, welcome to our Crime Time segment. Let's introduce tonight's guest. Joining us, retired Los Angeles Police Department Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey. Sergeant Dorsey started with the LAPD in 1980. She worked in patrol and specialized units, including gangs, and she's the author of Black and Blue, The Creation of a Social Advocate. Also with us, Sheriff's Deputy James Craigmile. James has 17 years in law enforcement. He served as a senior instructor and senior leader for the U.S. Army. He's a canine instructor and, of course, is recognized as being featured regularly on Live PD. Great to have you back, Sergeant. And James, our first story tonight comes to us from Orange County, California. We have some video, and it's some jaywalking that seems to be being investigated that then leads to an officer-involved shooting.
Okie doke. He's seen you. He's seen you, copper. Go back behind. Okie doke. What is to go get a joint? Like this, the Jaywalker. Have a control. There we go. Control, man. I don't know. It is. Like guy just stop in the middle. Don't make case law. Gabriel.
Two deputies assigned to the homeless outreach team on patrol in the city of San Clemente observed a man who appeared to be jaywalking near El Camino Real, a busy four-lane street. When the deputies first arrived, they approached the man and attempt to talk with him. The man walks behind the patrol vehicle and re-enters the street. The man is refusing to obey the deputy's commands to go back to the sidewalk and is actively resisting the deputy's attempt to detain him. A use of force occurs as both deputies try to gain control of him.
Stop touching me! Why you stop?
During the use of force, one deputy is heard on the witness cell phone video saying, "He's got my gun," multiple times. Shortly after, the deputy-involved shooting occurs. Two shots are heard. Following the deputy-involved shooting, the deputies gain control of the man, assess his condition, and begin CPR. The man was later pronounced deceased.
Gotta get this on video.
Got it. All right. My first question here is, should officers have even approached this suspect? Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, jaywalking.
Yeah, listen, Vinny, my understanding of jaywalking is when you cross the street mid-block between two controlled intersections, and by controlled, I mean with a tri-light signal, a traffic light, or a traffic intersection where there's traffic, and we don't see any vehicular traffic. And so listen, I think these officers were just looking to mess with this young man, and he didn't do himself any favors. I don't want to victim blame, but he didn't do himself any favors by saying, "Who are you?" You know who they are. They're deputies. They're in uniform. Don't touch me, because when you do that, Vinny, bad things happen. And now this young man has lost his life. Why? Because he wouldn't comply. Let them act a fool, get you a good attorney, and then go to money court.
All right, James, what do you think here about the approach that was done by the officers here?
Yeah, you know, we have a duty to protect the citizens. So to go and to make contact with this individual, we don't know if they're intoxicated. We don't know if they're in an altered mental state to where they're not thinking correctly by stepping out into traffic. So to make contact with them, I don't think there's anything wrong with making contact with them. And from there, you know, we need to really remove him out of the road. And his actions, unfortunately, led to what happened. You know, we see in the video here where he's just wanting to cause a confrontation for whatever reason. Maybe he's had a bad experience with law enforcement or whatever it might be. But we do have a duty to protect the citizens, and ultimately his actions led to the fatality.
Yeah, Sergeant, the other thing that struck me was, in this struggle, where right there we see where he's reaching for one of the officer's guns. How difficult is it when you've got that struggle going where now he may be armed, where you've got to take him out and you want to make sure that the other officer doesn't get harmed?
Well, one of the things you're always cognizant of, you should be, is where your duty weapon is, right? And so if you feel someone pulling and tugging on your gun, the officer did the right thing if that's what he felt, which was to alert the other officer, he's going for my gun. Now, we don't know if that was his intent. The picture is grainy. It could have been that he was trying to leverage himself to get up off the ground. And so I can't speak to what his mindset was. But let me just say something about that whole we have a duty to stop people. You don't get to just stop folks and have a conversation with them because you think they're impaired. You better have probable cause, reasonable suspicion before you start stopping somebody.
James, I'll give you the final word on this. Jaywalking, is that going to be enough for you?
Yeah, if that's what their municipal code is or municipal ordinance, the city, then yeah, they do have an obligation to go and to check that person. It's not a state law in the state of Missouri, but for whatever reason, maybe they're having a huge problem with the homeless population there, and the homeless population is just causing some type of disturbance or stopping people from being able to flow freely in their vehicles. So maybe that's an issue there. I don't know.
All right. Our experts are going to stay with us. We've got more Crime Time straight ahead, plus this.
The George Floyd murder trial is just 12 days away, but now the prosecutors have gone once again to the appellate court looking to reinstate third-degree murder charges. We take a look with our legal think tank. And Bruce Springsteen was charged with DWI, but New Jersey prosecutors dropped the charges and gave the boss a sweet deal. Is this a case of celebrity justice? Go to our Facebook pages and tell us what you think.
I want another Jeep because I love them, but now I have this fear that it could be stolen again.
I truly don't think they're going to find it. But then the question is, do I want to buy another Jeep knowing that they're that easy to hack?
Welcome back to our Crime Time segment. Still with us, our law enforcement expert, Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey and James Craigmile. This next one is from WFTS in Tampa, and kind of bizarre, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe I'm just not hip to what's happening out there, but you've got a serial Jeep theft.
For Jeep owners like Frank Mirable, it's about much more than something to drive.
It's the life, going off-road, meeting the groups up, going out on weekends and hanging out, going camping and stuff like that.
Frank's family had 3 Jeeps until last week when someone stole the customized blue one belonging to his son. It was parked in the driveway of their Trinity home.
It was weekend after weekend, being in the driveway, building it, putting his thought into it, what he liked, not what I liked. So it hurt.
But the Mirables aren't the only ones to lose a Jeep that night. Investigators say in all, thieves stole 3 Jeeps from 2 different Trinity subdivisions. Surveillance video shows one of them following another car out of the neighborhood. And the victims were told dozens more may have been stolen around the state.
I had so many emotions running through me. I really didn't know what to think or say.
The Pasco Sheriff's Office says they are looking into whether thieves used electronic devices to hack into the Jeeps. Worldwide, there are many cases of thieves using receivers to steal key fob signals from inside homes. Then they relay that signal to open and start cars. It can all happen in less than a minute. No one seems quite sure why Jeeps were targeted this time, but in less than 4 hours, they were tracked heading toward Miami.
I want another Jeep because I love them, but now I have this fear that it could be stolen again.
I truly don't think they're going to find it. But then the question is, do I want to buy another Jeep knowing that they're that easy to hack?
To protect yourself, experts say to keep the key fob as far away from the vehicle as possible when you're home. There are also protective pouches available to block the signal.
I had no idea. Are these key fobs a security risk? James Craigmile, this kind of caught me out of left field. I had no idea.
Yes, it is. We've had a huge problem with that here in Missouri. It's easy to go onto Amazon or eBay and find these devices that scan from outside your garage inside your home. These pouches are really, really good because it stops them from being able to get it. But listen, this isn't just a Jeep issue. This is any type of vehicle that has new technology in it. And unfortunately, thieves are just taking advantage of it. And once you become a victim, you take it personal. And a lot of these people, whenever they say, well, I don't know if I want another Jeep again, I understand that you've been a victim, but we can't sit here and live in fear our whole lives. You got to get back out there. You got to get your Jeep. You got to get whatever vehicle it is that you want, but take measures to protect yourself and protect your belongings. That's why we have insurance.
Absolutely. Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, this whole key fob thing I thought was like the greatest invention ever.
Yeah, well, I've never heard of that, obviously, but bad guys figure out ways to overcome things, and so now that we know it's a thing, hopefully it'll be publicized widely there, and folks will hear it here and take the necessary precautions. And I hope people don't get hung up on going out and putting themselves in harm's way to defend property, because you can get another car, you pay copious amounts of money for your insurance, your life you can't replace.
Absolutely. Great advice. Our final story tonight. From Aurora, the Aurora Police Department, a clerk shot during an armed robbery gone wrong. The clerk got shot there. Should the clerk have done anything differently? And let me start with you, Sergeant Dorsey.
That's a tough call. You're being proactive. I'm sorry, he was being reactive rather than proactive. He had a weapon where he could have protected himself, and maybe if he did anything wrong, it was hesitating and not firing right away when he pulled his gun out on this person.
Yeah, James, the other part of this, James, is people are walking into convenience stores with masks and gloves, and you don't look at them like there's anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah, that's the bad thing about COVID nowadays with these masks is everybody has one on. But, this store clerk, he's behind the curve. This guy already has his gun out. Whether it's real or not, you're never going to know until he fires a shot. So the store clerk was behind, but as you can see him around the corner here, I agree. He continued to chase after the suspect. I don't know when the clerk was shot, but sometimes it's better to comply unless you have that type of training to protect yourself. Again, like we talked about earlier with the Jeep, this is all property. It's not that store clerk's property. He didn't buy any of this stuff. So sometimes it's better just to give them what they want so that you end up living to see another day.
Absolutely. James Craigmile, Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, appreciate your expertise and your time tonight. We'll see you again.
Thank you.